ended up going to a shop where Chester Bennington, the lead singer of Linkin Park, was the counterhelp.
What?
Yeah. And as odd as it was, Chester was the singer of their band, Grey Days. And he did just counterhelp and stuff. I think he still owed me $5 from one day bought him a sandwich.
Welcome back to the Tattoo Guardians podcast. Who the fuck am I? I'm Mike. Usually sit over there. Hip's holding me at gunpoint right now, forcing me to do this. But in this episode, we get to go over the second part 2 of the great Joshua Carlton story. And Matt Clemmer is out on vacation, so you are graced with Hip and Josh's presence. In mine. Surprise. And we also get to talk about some douchebag clients. Check it out.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hip here, coming to you with another edition of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. And we are one down. And it's not Mr. Carlton this week, it's Mr. Clemmer. I am accompanied by the great Joshua Carlton.
What up?
And the cool thing is that Matt is on vacation and me and Mike are in his basement going through his shit and fucking wearing his clothes, and I'm going to swipe my nuts across his microphone.
Can you do some swiping for me, please?
Yes.
I can virtually swipe, but it's not as tantalizing as if you say.
Tantalizing, I like that. Yeah, we can have Mike live, or you can live vicariously through Mike.
Nice.
But yeah, so Matt's on vacation, a much needed one. So me and Josh are taking over the podcast, and we're just going to talk shit about him fucking the whole episode.
Get ready for a long one.
But yeah, thanks for joining us again, guys. And we got a couple things that we were going to start out with. One in particular was a message that Josh had sent me before we dive deep into tonight's episode. And could you elaborate a little bit on what it was or where you found it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not to me or anybody I know. This is just something that was circulating on one of the tattoo forums on Facebook. And it was basically just kind of a really fucking extremely rude message to an artist from either a potential client or possibly maybe a past client. And I wanted to read it out loud without saying anybody's names. Just to kind of see, I'd love to know if our listeners, and you, Hip, as well, have you received anything this brutal? And also, what makes people the way they are, basically? Why are you the way you are? You know what I mean? Because I think this particular person is an absolute fucking shitbag.
Yeah.
And I wish I did have his name. Maybe we should just call him out, but I actually don't have his name. But let's read this message that's just going around on this tattoo forums.
Yeah, and so before I read it, when I started reading it, it almost felt like they're referring to us as artists as and I don't
servants.
mean this. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Fast food service, fast food servants in service, which
very much it's the same people that are always like, I'll have your job tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's basically because I've given you money, you are in my debt, you do as I say.
Right.
I just kind of I don't know, the way he went about it was so unnecessary, I think,
Totally. And he could be a fucking troll, and he's maybe trying to get a rise.
Yeah, sure.
And also to anybody, any of our listeners that work in fast food or have worked in fast food, I don't, it's not. I appreciate you. I appreciate people who do that. I have done that in the past.
I appreciate some fast food workers because I wouldn't get my fast food without them.
Oh yeah, and out of anybody of service, those are the ones you need to be the nicest to because
right, exactly. That's my daughter's first job.
In your food. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's Penelope's first job, McDonald's. She's actually thinking about going back because they've raised it up to $16 an hour here now.
Holy shit!
And I know, it's amazing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with any of that. So even really for him to, once you hear the message, you'll even see imagine how he probably treats those people. You know?
Yeah.
Because if you treat a tattoo artist this way, that tells me you haven't been punched in the mouth.
Oh yeah. And like Matt says, you really get to see a person's character when you see them treat someone they don't think that they need. Exactly.
Perfect example.
So, here it goes by an anonymous name because it's crossed out, but that's not important. So, quote, if I order a pizza, caprese, I don't want what an artist in the kitchen. I don't want an artist.
You're basically saying he doesn't want an artist in the kitchen like making decisions for him. He wants the pizza the way that it comes on the menu. I'm paying you. Fuck you for your creativity. That part makes sense. If I'm ordering, chicken strips and whatever I get at Denny's, I don't necessarily want the artist, deciding this is his version of chicken strips, right? But I don't think tattooing falls into the same category. So continue on so our readers will understand.
Yeah. So, and he put like some weird parentheses or whatever there, so it threw me off. In the kitchen, adding strawberries to my caprese pizza,
right,
and mayonnaise on the top because he needed to express himself in a unique way, adapting his art to my general exterior aspect and aura.
Yeah, just the way this guy writes, he's a douchebag. Like, he's so proud of the way he wrote that. And aura. Oh.
Yeah, if you add the word aura and pizza in the same sentence, that's just fucking super weird.
He's jacking off while he writes this.
Go express yourself during your fucking free time, but when I pay you, you do as you are told and you shut the fuck up. I don't care to listen to the opinion of a servant. Ouch. If I pay for a service, you listen to me and not the other way around. Too much freedom created the illusion in inferior people that they can get paid to do what they want instead of get paid to provide a service doing what the customer wants. You don't agree? ? You are not there to agree with me. You are there to obey me. So unless I ask for advice, I only want to hear yes, sir, right away, sir, by all means, sir. End explanation or quotation.
Oh my gosh. So here's the fucking problem. So oh man, this makes me angry. So in some small way, I sort of understand what he's sort of attempting to say, right? Because I understand that in his world, he's paying you money, he's going to get his hair cut, and he wants you to cut it the way he wants it, and he doesn't want your artistic, expression or whatever. There are certain shops that cater to that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And there's certain shops that, like ours, like yours, and like mine, that cater to being artistic, and people know that.
Yeah, because we explain who we are and how we operate on the front end, then giving them the chance to proceed with what's going to happen. And actually, now that you bring it up, I did kind of experience something to this, not to this extreme magnitude of douchebagginess, but 2 weeks ago, I had a client come in, had an image. I was like, yeah, cool, we can, I'm not a copy machine, because he wanted the image exactly how it was. And he claimed it was a painting, but it was a sketch, and it was, how you can just see shit. And I'm not saying that like art, tattoo flash doesn't become paintings, but you could tell that like this was either going to be a tattoo design that some tattoo artist did, or it's a design that the tattoo artist did and then tattooed it. And he wanted it exactly that way. I told him like straight up, I'm not a copying machine. We can use this for inspiration and draw the same elements out of it, same kind of flow and everything. We're just going to make it unique. You're one of one. Your tattoo should reflect that. And plus, could be someone on Earth walking around that probably paid an expensive penny for this tattoo.
Right.
So it would be doing them a disservice. It would be doing the artist that came up with the concept a disservice. So like, we'll steal the artwork. We won't copy it.
Right.
And he was cool with that. He put down a deposit that, always goes towards the price of the tattoo the day of. Right. So boom, he leaves. Comes back like a month or two later for his appointment. Shows up, and I have a rendering. I had an apprentice do a couple renderings of it just to give him some choices and some options. Well, we ended up taking like A, B, and C from mine and blending it into XYZ with the apprentices, and he was happy with it. But the whole time he was like, yeah, I just think I want the original one. And I'm like, dude, I told you at the consult I'm not going to copy it. And I'm not one to give deposits back, especially on the day of, but like my discernment meter was going off, and I was like, you know what? If you want, dude, you can go find this dude. message him directly. Maybe he hasn't tattooed it, and you can actually have the artist that created this piece do it for you. Or there might be another artist that's willing to do the same thing on you. And he was like, "No, you're right. Go ahead." So boom, and it's a whole fucking belly rocker. And I put the stencil on 3 different times, which took up to about an hour. And then finally he was like, "Nah, this just ain't working out. I just want the original." And I was like, "Dude, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I've already told you that multiple times." And he was like, "Well, all right, I guess we just won't tattoo today." And I was like, "Well, look, you're going to be out of deposit." And he stood up and he was like, "That's cool, I understand." And he shook my hand and he started to walk away and was like, "Well, can I get half of it back?" And I was like, "Look, you may be out this amount for your deposit, but I'm out this amount for my day rate." And
People don't think about that.
Right. So everybody loses. It's not like, "Oh, I gained a free deposit." Like, nah, like fucking,
You
was
lost
planning on my
money.
day rate. Yeah. So he leaves, and he said he understood, shook my hand, was cool. Only for the next day for me to come in, and he wrote like that he wrote on Google like the deposit doesn't go towards tattoos. I'm a nice guy, but he didn't get his fair share of what he thought he deserved out. Just like elaborating stuff, and I almost like I had a message typed up. I was going to message him personally, because it's not so much that like he's putting dirt on my name as much as it is my team and my shop that I work at.
Right.
Because you know, no one gives a fuck about. You hear one bad comment from fucking any place, they don't pay attention to where the bad comment came from. They pay attention to like the place, the business that it came from.
Yes.
And
they never remember the details either. You know what I mean? It's just like bad review, you know.
Yeah, totally. And I was going to message him personally and just let him know, like, "Look, dude, we both know who's lying. I'm not going to get on there and like air dirty laundry out on Google because you know, you want to point fingers and like get a mob started, you know."
Right.
And I eventually talked it over with Matt, and I was like, "Dude, for real, I don't even fucking care that he's saying this." I was like trying to stand up more for Aisle 9, and I was like, "I really don't even want to fuck," because Matt suggested that I call him, and I was just like, I don't even want to. And he's like, "Then don't." And I was like, fuck it then. I just let this shit ride. But it reminds me of this, and you know, I said it wasn't as intense as this guy was, but you know, you brought up a good point, and like I said, when we first started talking about this, I explained who I am and how I operate on the front end, then giving the ball on your court. Now you have the choice to pull the trigger and book with me. If not, no pressure on my end. Like it doesn't even, I hear so many no's to the yeses, like it doesn't even bother me, and it's totally cool, and I get it. You know, I understand a budget. I too am on a budget. There's some things I can afford, there's some things I can't afford. Some things that I want, I save up for if I want them bad enough, especially, you know, if I want them from a particular person, brand, or business. But then there are fucking street shops that it's fucking hell yeah. And we got a couple dudes like that at our shop, and it's like whatever you want, they will fucking give it to you, no questions asked.
Right.
And they are there to fucking serve you like that, and that's totally cool. Will they give you advice is like, if you want something real little and dinky and every experience you've ever experienced in your entire life, and you want on your wrist upside down so you can see it because it's for you. Yeah, we'll give you our input on that because that's what professionals do. But we're not just fucking... The way he uses the word servant is totally different than how we use the word servant, you know?
100%, yeah. And the thing is, too, is that I think every tattoo artist has dealt with this. So the people that work in your studio that will do basically anything, nothing wrong with that, except for copying another artist's work. I think we all know, we've all probably done it. I think I've done it many times in the past, either without really realizing it, or maybe I realized it and didn't really care. It wasn't the right thing to do, and I definitely do try not to do it now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But people get something in their head when they see it. They're like, that's the tattoo I want, so strongly that they'll even remember it differently. I've actually had people come in, I used to carry around a little book, and it was called a wish book. And it was just things I wanted to do before the internet was real popular. And he saw this monster like in a cage, and she's just got a cage around her head. There's no hands at all in the picture. And this guy waited like 3 months to get booked with that tattoo. It's just a picture from a movie, like a horror movie. And when he showed up, he was like, "Oh, what about the hands?" And in his head, he had literally added things to it that he swears was there, you know. And it's like, I know that no matter what I do, even if it's way better than the original, once it's in their head, it's just, you can't do anything about it. And that's why that guy, the whole time you're putting the stencil on him, the rocker, I guarantee you he was like, "Oh, this isn't the one, this isn't it, this is," you know what I mean?
Just like people pleasing, or almost feeling like if he bends that, like, you know, if he falls out of integrity with his self, maybe it'll come to me, and then I'll fucking shrink back on my word and what I've said from the beginning. And you know, like, as much as I wanted to, because I want to make people happy, I want everybody to have a good experience when they're working with me. I don't want bad reviews. I don't look forward to that. But shit fucking happens, man. We've all got one coming down the pipe, and it just happened to be my turn.
I always tell Nikki that, like, no matter how good she's doing, she's going to do a bad tattoo. She's going to get a bad review. It's 100% guaranteed.
Yep.
And it's great that she knows that, you know what I mean? And but this guy, you know, I think he just is probably just a douchebag all day long, and like, you know, I can't imagine like just, you know, being friends with this guy, and like, you know, when you go out to eat with him, you know what I mean, and something's wrong with his soup that he didn't order, but somehow he eats it anyway, and then still complains about it. But it's like, but you ate it, you know? He's just that guy, you know what I mean? And like, I've never gotten one so direct. I've gotten one time, there was a guy in the lobby with me, and this was all in person, and somebody else came in, and they were like, "Hey, Josh is here today, what's going on?" He kind of interrupted me and my client, but my client stood up and he goes, "Yo, this is my time. I pay for this time. This is my time." You know what I mean? And it's like, and I guess in some sense he was right, but it's like, it's your delivery, man. You know? Like, there's so many better ways that he could have formatted that message to basically say, "Look, I really want what I want." You know, and then the artist could have been like, "I understand that, and I'm just not the artist to give you that." Kind of like you did, right. You know what I mean? So I don't know, I just wanted to put it out there. I'd love to hear from the listeners if you've experienced something as brash as this particular guy. And then you also have the question of, you're a big dude. You're a big, intimidating guy. You know, I'm 145 pounds. What's the difference between somebody listening to you out of slight intimidation just naturally versus me versus a tiny woman, right? Versus Matt with his dreadlocks and everything. Like, I'm curious when they first just walk in the door even, right?
You know, it's funny that you bring that up, because that just never occurs to me, because in my mind, I'm always that little kid that I always have been. So I always
and you're such a nice guy for the people that know you. But I think if you were, so let's say you were just concentrating, so you look stern in the face, and you're like, "Yeah, Hip's over there. You're having a meeting with Hip today." It'd be easy to be like, "Fuck, look at this guy's fucking whole arm is blacked out. And clearly he's been to prison." You know what I mean? So I wonder if that guy would pull that shit with you in person.
Yeah, you know? That's a fucking great question, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate for a minute. So maybe this dude, let's say he went to 3 different tattoo shops, and he just got the most hipsterest, stuck-up, yuppie fucking tattooer 3 times in a row, and just had horrible experiences. Maybe they were equally as douchebag tattooers that he had to deal with, that was the catalyst of events that caused this post.
So maybe he'd never talked like that before, but he was like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to fucking be the douchebag this time."
Right, you know, like, imagine, I don't know, you go to buy your first car, and you just keep getting the wrong fucking car salesman, and you're like, "You know what? Fuck these bitch-ass car salesmen. Like, I'm coming to fucking pay your bills," you know, and you trying to fucking X, Y, and Z me, like, fuck this shit. I could totally see that. But, like, just the derogatory words this guy uses. Like, I mean, fuck it, dude. Instead of servant, just say slave, because that's what you're making it sound like.
I just felt like it was, like I said, like, I've been tattooing for so long that I remember when tattooing was a lot rougher. You know, when people would be like, "God damn, are you in the mafia?" And it's like, "Nope, I'm a tattoo artist." You know what I mean? It's like, this guy hasn't dealt with those old school ways. I'm not even advocating that's what needs to happen.
Right.
But this is somebody that's probably never been told no in his entire life. You know what I mean? The whole "my body's my temple and nobody's good enough to do anything on it." You know, and I'm sure the tattoo was fucking stellar, by the way. I'm sure I'm sure what he wanted was fucking not stupid at all. You know?
Yeah, it couldn't have been a tribal armband.
Right. And the thing is if you look at the original message, at the very top it says, this is in context to me telling him that I won't steal other people's work. So that's what it was about. He did have a picture of somebody else's tattoo, and this tattoo artist was trying to steer them in the right direction. And he was like, nope, not having it.
Oh shit, I didn't even see that part. What I did see is the comment of someone got on there and says, this guy says the guy with a tribal armband and an only God can judge me tattoo. So basically talking shit about the dude.
Yeah. So
but
anyway,
yeah, I didn't even see
that,
the top.
I thought that was worth sharing. The more skin you got in the game, the more years you've been at it, you've definitely dealt with people like this. And it can be funny and eye-rolly, and it can just be fucking annoying, you know what I mean? So
Totally.
This is what we deal with, you know, in an everyday life, you know what I mean? Like being a tattoo artist is not all fun and glamour and money and stuff. We got to deal with this shit, and you know, there's so much more we have to deal with as well. So,
and let alone like, you know, no one can kick my ass as bad as I can, and we've done multiple fucking episodes on just self-worth or lack of and internal things that us as artists deal with, on top of like not really being able to have bad days. There's like a certain pinnacle you reach as an artist that like once you hit it, it's like you can't bring none of your bullshit from outside of work in with you. Your clients can feel it. It shows. Your bedside manner has to be good. Like you start to get on a world stage bigger and bigger, and people notice this, and you get clients that are flying in and driving long distance. But as you should be acting like that, because you're professional now, you know. And for our listeners, don't let this discourage you. Like all this dude is that we read from, those are just character building moments. Those people like that douche are the people that are going to sharpen you to make you a professional, positive, caring tattoo artist. You know?
Well said. Yeah, because you have to remember that we're doing this. It's permanent.
Yeah.
You know? So ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, your good advice is really actually very important. And I thought that you had a good handle on it. Like one of the things that you say time and time again that I really appreciate is that you get everything out front. There's no like, oh, by the way, it's $3,000. They know the price. They know the healing. They know how long they're going to be in the studio. They know to get a good breakfast. You know, put it all out there.
And the reason I've learned to put it all out in the front end is because I can't tell you how many times I didn't and got stuck in a weird, awkward situation that made me look like, I don't know, mischievous or manipulative, trying to get more money or this or that. So now I just try to be as transparent as I can be on the front end, and multiple times. Emails, in-person consults, reiterating
phone
again.
calls.
Yeah, phone calls.
I remember one time somebody about mid-tattoo, like we were comfortable, everything was fine. And she just goes, I do have to ask you. She's like, are you charging me this much because I'm a doctor? She had told me, you know, I'm always like, what do you do for a living? Like she actually questioned like that's what I do. Like I size them up. And I guess people probably do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's people out there that, you know, like you can look at your client's shoes and go, this guy's got money or doesn't have money, you know. And I don't think like that at all. Never have, but I can see where they're coming from. But it's so uncomfortable. And then like afterwards, after they say that, it's just so uncomfortable to tattoo them. We're so close to these people. We're touching them or inches away from them, you know what I mean? And it's like super odd and awkward.
It almost flushes like the whole experience down the toilet. But you know, the cool thing is like I've even got backups for that. So like I have my prices on my website. So if someone was to say that, I'd be like, well, you know, go to my IG and get my link to my website, and it'll show you right there. Like this isn't biased towards anyone.
Right. And again, you don't have to get, for the people that get crazy about the prices, you don't have to get tattooed by hip at all.
Yeah,
at all.
Totally. I remember when I was doing an hourly rate and the ink machines, the power supply, like it was the most accurate for time. And
like it had like a counter on it.
Dude, so much so that if I let off the foot pedal, the timer would stop. Usually they would keep going. Yeah,
so actual tattoo time.
actual fucking needle and skin time. And I thought I was being professional, and I would tell my clients that, and they appreciate it, until a couple of them were watching that, and then, you know, seeing that I was charging for a 10-minute cigarette break here and a lunch break here, and then they wanted to like really do the fucking math and be frugal with it. And I was like, this isn't fucking working.
I'll never forget. I remember Sean being at a convention, and the guy seemed cool and everything, and then Sean went to charge him, and he's like, well, there was that cigarette break. Like, he'd say exactly that. He broke everything down. And Sean was like, well, I wouldn't say it was, because I think he said 20-minute cigarette break, and he was like, it was like 5 minutes, you know. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Clients, I guess it's just, again, let's hear your stories down there. Call us up, like I said, on Instagram, do the message thing. We've been getting a ton of them, by the way. I'd love to listen to your stories. This is kind of fun for me to hear all these. Like I said, this is how I grew up. You know what I mean? I want to hear these stories that resonate with me.
And anybody that's not a tattoo artist, a client that's had a bad experience or can relate to what we're talking about, like, let us know your side of the story, because both are equally important.
Yeah, great. Yeah, actually, that's great. I'm very interested. There's a book in there somewhere. There's always a book for me. Do you notice that? Yeah.
Dude, it's funny because I think fucking that's a trait that Jamie picks up from you, because at Boise 208, Josh and all the family at Evergreen throws another convention in Idaho, the land of no potato, by the way. It was a great convention, and I went with Jamie.
I had a good time at that show.
Yeah, Jamie and Pete invited me to one of their friends' band that's been touring, Eagle Twin. They're pretty dope.
Oh, you went to that. That's right. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're a 2-piece, dude, and it sounded like a 4-piece.
Right.
But Jamie was telling me that, like, when they go to concerts, like, she wants to make a book and take pictures of after the musicians play their hands, like the drummers, the guitarists.
Oh, because they're all beat up and bloodied, and how much it fucking, that could be cool. A nice little coffee table book, for sure.
Yeah, and she told me that.
Don't steal that, guys. Don't steal it. That's my sister.
It is copyrighted. But yeah, she told me that, and I was like, that sounds like some Josh shit.
Right. So, yeah. I'm always thinking of stuff like that. I'm always just thinking of things, and I kind of have to peel it back and be like, everything doesn't have to be work. You know, maybe you should put a book together simply because it's fun. You know, it's like you don't have to have 15 jobs. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's weird. It's like everything. I'll love something and then I turn it into work, and then I don't like it as much. You know what I mean? So you gotta be careful with that. Tattooing will always be my my real love. Like, I'm super into photography, and I'm trying really hard to keep it as a hobby, but I really genuinely love it. But that feeling of thinking about the next tattoo I'm gonna do, nothing beats that, man. You know, which I'm so thankful for after all these years. You know, after all these years, I'm still like, fuck yeah. You know.
Yeah. It's good to see that, like, because I appreciate that. You hear the negative more than you do the positive, and a lot of people are just burn out. And I'm like, cool. I can always like sit back and like be like, Josh ain't burnt out. He's been doing it.
Right.
Everyone I've heard say they're burnt out.
Almost every seminar I teach, like I'd say 98%, I go, how long have you been tattooing? And then if it's been 10 years at least, I go, you got really burnt out on the 10th year, didn't you? And they're like, oh man, you don't even know. It's consistent across the board. And that's part of my seminars. Like, I'm here to get you out of that and make you fucking love tattooing more than you ever did. You know? And that really works because I want them to realize what they have. Like, it sounds so cheesy to be like, we got the best job in the world, but like, these are facts. Like, you know, I mean, obviously people are saving lives and all that, but man, like, as far as an artist goes, like, if you notice it, it's almost like the worse the economy gets, the better tattoo artists do. When everybody else is struggling, we're thriving. You know what I mean? And like, if you're not thriving, it's simply a matter of something that you need to work on. You know? But, which we talked about in the past. But we get to draw on people. I try to always say that I basically try to do tattoos that I would do for free, but on my friends. You know what I mean? And like, I try to look at it that way, that I'm lucky to be getting paid anything really, but to be getting paid what I'm able to be paid, and really love it. Like, I leave the shop fucking skipping, you know. it's just like, I can't believe this. You know, I hear these stories about places closing down because of COVID, and you know, people struggling, and it's like my heart goes out to them, and I want to give everybody tattooing, which everybody doesn't deserve tattooing, or they're not cut out for it. But I want to somehow try to fix it. You know, I want to fix them and fix their problem and give them my money, whatever, you know. But yeah, man, I don't know. We really do have an incredible job. I'll take back the greatest job in the world and just say, for me, the greatest job for me, for my life. It's incredible. And I think you probably feel the same way.
100%.
Yeah. And tattooing
100%.
found you. I talk a lot about that. Tattooing found you. You know, like, you're a really amazing story with everything that you've been through, and you flourished so hard. Like, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy. You know.
And you know, I can really resonate with that, because you know, you hear a lot of people like, yeah, my dad was a tatty, and fucking I grew up in the shop, so it was just like second nature for me, and I became into this, and it's like that's almost like genetically bred into them. But I remember the first tattoo I just got it because I was 18, and that's what you do when fucking you're allowed to get tattooed, and fucking I went and got a tattoo. Then my second one was from this fucking old hillbilly dude in a fucking van, and all I remember is like it took so fucking long, and he had a bunch of dried like habanero peppers and ghost peppers hanging in his van, and he just drove around and tattooed people out of his van with peppers.
Was there nothing that was like, I don't know if I should be getting tattooed in the van?
No, not at all. Fuck
no.
Nah, this was like fucking rock and roll type shit, dude.
This is the best idea ever.
Yeah, fuck yeah. At this time, I was probably like snorting fucking lines of coke off fucking public urinals and shit. Like,
sure. So
what's getting tattooed in the van?
This was like mellow day, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this was just Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I still didn't even. It didn't even pass. It wasn't a thought in my head. And then I went to prison, and I'm like, you know what? I'm the first child to go to prison. I'm also going to be the first to go to college too. And I did that. And I didn't have any desire to get tattooed at all, or to do anything art-wise. I was just going to college for fucking accounting or business management or something. It was fucking lame. I respect people that like numbers. Because
see, and that's what I mean. That shows you what you've got. Now, there are people that respect and love numbers. See, I love the idea of math. I love math, but I'm really bad at it. You know what I mean? But I love how it can answer so many questions. But, like, to you, that's a nightmare, right? So you get to make, like, all this fucking money, and you get to travel. Here's the thing, Hip. You can go, you know what? I feel like going to Hawaii tomorrow. Not only can you buy a first-class ticket if you'd like to, because you've worked your butt off, you're going to have fucking work. Who gets to fucking sell sandwiches and go, I'm going to go sell sandwiches in Hawaii tomorrow? I mean, fuck, I can go anywhere in the world, and I'm immediately looking work. That's fucking insane, and that's an open invitation to go everywhere in the world. You know? Like, what a dream. Like, it sounds like a rock star sounds cool. This is better. It's better.
We're the rock star's rock star.
You're right, and they'll even tell you that, actually. Yeah. So before I get too off of everything here, since we're short on time, you telling your story reminded me that I started to tell my story. I kind of cut it a little bit short. Do you remember exactly where we were at? And we can jog this back a little bit.
I'm not sure of the criteria of time, but we were in Phoenix, Arizona. You were Joshua Shitfingers.
Yes, yes.
And you had started your ascent from working with Shitfingers Man and not finding any work anywhere else, and then
nobody would hire me. Yeah, I was blackballed from all of Arizona. Like, I would call the shops, I would get hired every time they looked at my portfolio. Boom, yes, you're hired. And then it was like, wait, what's your name? And they remembered that they were given a phone call, like, hey, just so you know, this guy's off the list. If you hire him, there will be repercussions. So there was literally nothing I could do. I worked, like I probably mentioned it before, I ended up working as a janitor. I worked as a janitor at a church that I eventually got married at to my first wife. Like, how fucking, you know what I mean? And I was smart enough to go, okay, you're an artist. What can you do? So I would go in early when the weddings were going on. Like, I would finish my shift, And I'd either go in early or stay late for my shift. And I would just start drawing people. I'd sit in one of the pews while they were getting ready, and I would just start drawing the guest or the bride, you know what I mean? And then most of the time, that became a wedding gift. You know what I mean? So I always had some creative spark to go, I think I can use my art to make some money. They don't know Joshua Shitfinger's here. You know what I mean? So then I thought, okay, why don't you go find the most amazing neighborhoods in Phoenix? The biggest houses, probably the same houses that Matt was doing faux finishing on. You know, like that's what he did, right?
Yeah, faux painter in Phoenix, yep.
So I would go sit in front of these incredible mansions with my sketchbook and just draw it. Because all these rich people are really narcissistic, right? So I would just knock on their door and I'd be like, hey, I drew your home for you. And half the time they were like, what the fuck are you doing in my yard? But the other half was like, this is amazing, and they would buy it. And so I was like, well, I just kind of kept upping the prices. Like, what could I do with this? And I started to think, maybe I'm going to not be a tattoo artist, but I'll just be a traditional artist. Maybe I'll draw caricatures at the fucking fair. I didn't know. I was just looking, you know. But I remember falling into a deep depression because no one would hire me. And my wife at the time, she worked at, do you remember the store Hot Topic in the mall?
Yeah.
She worked at Hot Topic in the mall. And
now, were you scratching or anything?
A tiny bit. So oddly, here's what's funny. I was a janitor. Well, there was another janitor hired like a couple months after me. Then he would do security because they would have weddings and receptions. I was always a littler guy before I got fat. And so I couldn't do security or anything. But this guy was a scratcher. So that sparked my interest again. I mean, he was terrible. You know, he would try to get me to come over and scratch with him. And like, he thought it was the coolest thing ever. But it did spark tattooing in me again. You know what I mean? So I remember my ex-wife would come home from a full shift at 6 o'clock in the evening, like it was getting dark. And I was still in bed. I was just so depressed. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get out of bed. You know, she talked about divorce because she's like, look, this isn't a life. I was just crippled in a depression, and her whole family lived there. So it wasn't like getting up and moving was really an option. You know,
right.
Eventually we did, or I did. You know, that's why we split up. But you know, we had a child together. So I was trying to be the best dad I could be, which I was failing at by sleeping all day. You know what I mean? And then I just kind of kept reliving these, getting into a shop and then fucking losing it. And I think I told you before, I finally got into another shop because they were from Michigan and they were like, we don't know any of these people and we don't fucking care. They were like bikers as well. So I got a job there. So I finally got, yes, that's what happened. I remember now. The Tattoo Gallery in Mesa, Arizona. And I was so happy because one, the boss was a really good tattoo artist. He was super fucking cool. I felt like they kind of had my back. And I had fun there and I got to tattoo again, like normal tattoos. And this particular shop, instead of having all the same flash that everybody had, they had hired these 2 college students that used to come in and like try to sell their artwork to just draw flash. So the whole shop was decked out in like some pretty badass flash that nobody else had. So I thought that was pretty dope, you know what I mean? Because at the time I was really into flash. Like I outlined everything. I tattooed completely normal, like outline, shade, color. You know, I didn't try any of my stuff at all. Like not even attempted to. My goal was just a clean tattoo at the time, which I think is smart.
Fundamentals, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's super smart. But I would buy the magazines still and everything, and I would see Paul Booth, and I would see these people getting these amazing tattoos. And I'm like, how do they do that? I never even thought about it being no outline. I just didn't put that together. Nobody was really doing it. Like a very small handful of people. And even then, they were usually single needle lining it and then shading it. But I went to the Hollywood Ink Slingers Ball every year. This is in Hollywood. It was like Gil Monty put it on. And for those that don't know, Gil Monty's been around forever. He was known for doing skulls, like badass skulls, before really anybody was like, that's my shit, skulls, you know what I mean? Like giant skulls and real bikerish. I'm pretty sure he was a member of a club. But he was a nice guy. And he invited me every year to come. Well, at first I just went as an onlooker. I'd never been to a convention before. and some friends of mine are like, we're going to go out that way to visit some family. If you want to come with us, I can drop you off there for one day. Not the whole 3 days, but I can give you one day. And I was like, oh my God. It was like the first time I'd ever been into a tattoo shop, right? Like a fucking convention. Oh my God. To actually see Paul Booth was there. It might as well have been Elvis to me. You know what I mean? I never seen anybody in person. I never fucking talked to these people. And we're walking around just geeked the fuck out. I was pretty much uncontrollable. I was so excited. And I saw Tom Renshaw. And he, at the time, he wasn't a rock star yet, like he became, but he was like definitely the hot new thing. And are you familiar with him? I know you're not familiar with you're familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing this guy's stomach. He was really into hunting and like trapping and stuff. And so he was doing this scene across the guy's stomach. And it was like a hunter and a bunch of like trees, not the kind of twisty bullshit trees we draw on, like real looking trees. And I watched him work and I'm like, it looks like he's painting. Like, this is really crazy. And even though I thought I was talking kind of soft, he heard me somehow and totally was awesome to me. And he's like, oh, I don't outline my tattoos. He goes, I'm just using a 5 Magnum. And I'd never even heard of a Magnum, I don't think, by then. Maybe I had, I don't remember. I probably was using 6 flats. But it fucking just immediately was like, what? You can do that? That's fucking allowed? You know, which is so silly, right? And I just couldn't fucking believe it. And then I saw Dino Cook, and he was doing the same thing, but that's underwater stuff. And I was like, I'm going to go home forever changed because you don't have to outline your tattoos. And I was into realism, right? So I was like, that's the missing ingredient. Well, the missing ingredient, go ahead.
So Dino has been tattooing equally as long as you have?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I did not know that.
I remember when Dino Cook's ex-wife was pregnant with their twins, who are adults, tattoo artists now. And he was like, I'm going to come to the show, but just so you guys know, I might get up any minute because my wife's water might break. And it did. It happened at the show. He had to leave in the middle of a fucking tattoo to go have these twins. Which, like I said, now they're full-grown tattoo artists. So, yeah, he's been tattooing for probably as long as I have.
Wow.
And what's really cool, Dino and I have never been, like, really close, but we've been friends for a long time. I've been to his shop. I was invited to guest spot at his shop, and somehow I fucked it up and didn't do it. I probably chickened out as a pussy or something. But when I got diagnosed with cancer, he was one of the first people to reach out to me. Hadn't talked to him in years, and he had been through throat cancer. I didn't even know it. And him telling me the things he told me about survival forever changed my attitude. And I'm always saying, whenever I see somebody post about something, and Nikki will say, go be his Dino Cook. You should be his Dino Cook. And I always remember that. And I love you, Dino, and thank you so much. You don't even know what you did for me. But you really, 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 really put some faith in me, and I will never forget it. And he's doing great. He's alive and healthy, and he's fucking doing all these things. He had to have a feeding tube just like me, right? It literally goes right into your small intestines. You got this fucking bag. And he was like, so I guess I'm not going to go to this big diving, because he does amazing diving photography. I mean, it's fucking amazing. And
that's what he does his tattoos off of, too.
Yeah, then he paints it, and then he tattoos it. So it's like, it's incredible. I love that this guy's invested in himself, right? These equipment that pull you around underwater, they're thousands and thousands of dollars. He's invested all this in himself, which I fucking love. But he was like, so I'm not going to be able to go to this event that I've waited a year for, and they're like, not with that feeding tube. And he's like, I got you, bro. And there's pictures of him with the fucking feeding tube all bagged up and shit, and he's fucking doing it anyway. Fuck it. You know what I mean? And I just love that. I just love that, man. I love that he was like, I'm going to fucking do it. And I don't know if you know, but Dino used to be pretty overweight. I don't know if you've seen him lately. Not only is he thin, he's fucking ripped. He's in shape.
Well, so I got privy to him a few years back. So I never remember seeing, I don't believe, ever heavy. But one thing that really won my heart over with him, and not to talk too much on his story, but I did see that he is also in long-term recovery, and I seen that, and I was like, oh my God, will you marry me? And I instantly reached out to him and just like fucking showed him some love, and I was like, dude, I appreciate like seeing other people in the industry that have the impact like you, that have been and are still on the same journey that I'm seeking out myself.
Yeah.
Which just, you know, just shows me that, like, yeah, dude, motherfuckers have been doing this. Like, it's cool to fucking be in recovery and fucking be a tattoo artist, dude. Like,
And that's what I mean about the best job ever, because like somebody like you is so welcomed with love and open arms, and like we're gonna help you get your fucking dreams, bro. You know. And Dino, I don't know if it's just me or if you ever experienced this. I will scroll through Facebook and I'll see somebody and I'll be like, that person's got their life figured out. You can just see it in their eyes. It's weird. I see it on my sister lately. She just looks so happy. All of her pictures are so happy. She's found the life that she really, really wants. You know what I mean? And I'm super proud of her for it. She's come so far. You know, she's become an amazing tattoo artist. And I think we're all looking for those moments where you can tell by our pictures. Hip's got it, man. Hip's got it figured out. Dino has done that. If you go through his pictures right now, if you scroll through them, you can just feel it. Like, this guy was on top of the world, don't know what happened, had some issues, kind of fell off a little bit, found his true self, and exploded like a fucking star. And it's like, he doesn't need to be this super famous tattooist, which he still is, but he's not chasing that anymore. He's chasing what he really, truly loves. And I think that's why I've gotten so into photography myself. It's something that I really, truly love. It makes me happy. You know, I know you're a big, big mountain biker. I can see that makes you happy. Like, tattooing is wonderful, but do find that other piece, right? That's you. Like, clearly Matt has found mentoring. And I have as well. I've been mentoring a lot myself, and I just love it. You know what I mean? But I do think that I can't wait to get to the day where I become what Dino Cook became, where I'm just so comfortable with myself. And I'm guessing he might not be. Dino, if you're out there listening, I hope you are, bro. I love you. Mm-hmm. But I want to see that with you too. I want to see that with our listeners. You know what I mean? I feel like when I was walking around Boise, so a few of the people that I've been mentoring directly, I could see it a little bit. You know, it's starting to turn. What a fucking beautiful thing, right? Am I making sense to you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Man, it's like, those are the people I want to sit around. Do you notice I would always come up and just sit with you, walking around, and I would just sit with you. And I would just sit with Jamie. I sit with these people that make me feel that. You know what I mean? And it's something I wasn't really aware of until kind of recently, and I love it. Seek out those people that make you feel that.
And, you know, coming from a different set of eyes outside the frame of the picture, but I see that in you, and I'm just wondering if, like, we can't see it in ourselves, or we're the last ones to see it. And
maybe so, because I am happy. Even with cancer, I am genuinely happy, you know.
And, you know, like how you say you can see it reflective in Dino's work, it is probably because he has, like, the same desire to grow and get better, and not plateau that, like, you do or I do or Matt does or any other number of artists. And the reason why you can see that is because that constant state of humility and willingness and teachability is always present, and you can just see it in the pictures.
That's so cool, man. I hope that's true. I do feel it. Like I said, I'll talk to Nikki sometimes, and I'm like, it's so weird because I have stage 4 cancer, and, like, who knows, and I'm super positive, but it's like, I'm maybe happier than I've ever been. I'm way more confident than I've ever been. I'm super happy that you guys are listening to this podcast. We get so many messages about how much this podcast has touched people. It's overwhelming. I mean, we hoped for something like this, but I don't know. Did you ever think it'd be like this?
No, I try not to have any expectations, and the ones that I did have were like, we're going to get a lot of fucking kickback from people, and I can't really think of other than one, and I don't even know if it was about us or if it's even considered bad, that I've heard, or that was posted publicly or talked about.
And we'll get it. We'll definitely get it, and I don't care.
Right.
You know?
And that was basically what my expectation was. Like, man, there's going to be a lot of people fucking hating on us and talking shit about us. And it's almost like I wish I wouldn't even have had that expectation, because now I haven't seen one, and I'm like, damn, maybe we are having a good impact on people and helping change lives and allowing people to get an insight of what it looks like in our lives, and then allowing them to help us. And it's just a fucking, this tide rises all ships scenario. And then a couple of the bad ones will come down the pipe, and I'll get all butt hurt. So
it's easy to be like, well, why are we even doing this?
Yeah, right, I'm done.
Right. I do feel like it's been a blessing, and it's been a journey, and we hope to continue to keep doing it for a long time. We had to rearrange the schedule a couple of times for me. It's 7 o'clock my time when we start, like at night, and it's 10 o'clock for Hip and those guys, which is amazing that you guys stay up so late for me. But generally on Tuesdays, the chemotherapy's got me pretty sick. Yesterday was fucking terrible. It was one of the worst I had. But doing the podcast always makes me feel better. Afterwards, I always feel really good. You know what I mean? So that's cool. So thanks, guys, for that. But yeah, so I was in this shop in Mesa, Arizona. Things were good. And then I think I just kind of ran its course. I stayed there for years, left on really good terms. Ended up going to a shop where Chester Bennington, the lead singer of Linkin Park, was the counter help.
What?
Yeah. So there was no Linkin Park. There was just a band called Grey Days. And the drummer of Grey Days and the bassist of Grey Days owned the shop. They actually came to me when I worked at the other shop. What do they call it? Tattoo Gallery. And they're like, we want to open a shop, and we were wondering if you could give us some advice, because the bassist's name is Mace, great guy. We were tattooing Mace quite a bit at the shop. He got a whole back piece from the owner and stuff. And then Sean Dowdell was the other owner. He's the drummer, also a great guy. Took me under his wing, and we didn't leave on the best of terms, but a lot of that was me being kind of immature. He actually owns multiple shops in Las Vegas now, which is a pretty hard place to kind of get your foot in, you know. And he's super, super successful. He's one of those people that I just knew he'd be super successful with whatever he did. I know he's authored several books and stuff, and his shops are really nice. So I got nothing but nice things to say about the guy. Like I said, didn't leave on the best terms myself, so that's on me. But anyway, so I eventually went and worked with those guys. And as odd as it was, Chester was the singer of their band, Grey Days, and he did just counter help and stuff. I think he still owed me $5 from one day bought him a sandwich. But I remember I would go see him. I'd go see Grey Days. And I was floored because, Chester Bennington's voice is ridiculous. And I was like, how are these guys not huge? And then they were pretty good, pretty big locally, you know? But never in a million years. Not only never in a million years would I have thought that this would happen, I didn't put it together until years later that it was him. Oddly, he didn't change the way he looked that much, but I remember kind of him. I remember hearing about him, trying out for a band, which was Linkin Park. Yeah. And everybody was excited for him and stuff. Even the guys in the band were excited for him because even though that meant that he was leaving, he was going on to a big deal. So I think Linkin Park had been known, but not anywhere to the level that Chester took him. But I remember years went by, literally years. And then I ran into an old client that I tattooed there. And he's like, crazy about Chester, huh? And I'm like, what? He's like, Chester Bennington, Linkin Park. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? And he's like, dude, Chester, your counter help. He's the fucking lead singer of Linkin Park. And I was just like, what? I was fucking floored. I literally just didn't put it together. And band became a superstar, And for any of the conspiracy people and that are wondering, and his best friend was this, and they were going to tell the government this, and you see shit like that, I'm not going to talk much because I don't have the right to say it. But I knew Chester relatively well, and he was fucking very depressed. He was. It's real. Depression is a motherfucker. Even with all the fame and all the money and all the success, look what happened, So I don't have any kind of facts or anything to prove, but I've definitely read all kinds of conspiracies about how it's fake and all this stuff. And it's like, I'm pretty sure the Chester I knew, I unfortunately could see it. It's terrible, And I believe Sean and Mace and the rest of the original band, I believe that they were able to make a new Grey Days album. Maybe they were working on it with Chester before the Linkin Park thing went down. But I think that they re-released it. So anybody that's a fan of Linkin Park or Grey Days, spelled D-A-Z-E, I'd check it out, man. But anyway, so yeah, I went and worked at that shop, and then I had a really good client, and real quiet guy. And he goes, "You ever think about opening your own shop?" And I'm like, "Man, I'd love to, but I don't really know how all this works. It seems like incredibly expensive." And it sounded fake. He said, "My dad is very wealthy, and he has to, literally needs to spend some money for tax reasons. Like, he needs to do something with some money. So he's offered to give us each an envelope of money, and I'll be your partner. And he'll be a silent partner." And he says, in 5 years, he might take something. 5 years, you know what I mean? No big deal. And I was like, holy shit. So young me, and this is why I left on bad terms, how could I say no? I was so fucking I didn't respect the people that I worked for enough. I should have to tell them that, you know what I mean? I did give lots of notice. I gave 30 days notice. I tried really hard to do my best, but I fucked it up. And anyway, but yeah, he gave me an envelope the next day. They gave that fucking envelope of cash, even though it was his money and we could have just used it from his bank account. So I had this giant envelope of cash I'd never had my whole life. We looked for buildings everywhere, and we just could not find one. And there was a tattoo shop that was already existing, but it had closed down recently. But the problem was it was a block away from the shop I just left. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to fucking do that.
Right.
And nothing had, we just could not find a spot. And then he was like, look, it was already a shop before they were. They technically did it to them. And it doesn't make it right. And it was already a shop. It's going to be a shop. Somebody's going to rent it. The tattoo sign is literally already there. And I was like, you're right. And I called the landlord, and he met us for breakfast and fell in love with us. And Mom's Tattoo was born. That's the first shop I ever, shop. Because I had the one in the record store. A little tiny, but it wasn't really a shop. I was scratching in the back of the record store.
Right, a room.
This was a shop. This was a shop, autoclave, everything, you know what I mean? And we called it Mom's Tattoo because we wanted it just to be welcoming. And we almost immediately tried to get sued by Mum's Tattoo in the UK. And I'm like, the lawyer was like, well, if you think you can control that, then every Mother's Day card is illegal.
Right.
You know what I mean? You own Mom's. So they dropped everything. But it was a great run. I did it for many, many years. And it just kind of, a lot of things, it just eventually fizzled out. Probably 5 to 8 years down the road. Kind of fizzled out.
This is still Arizona, correct?
Still Arizona, yep. I had some beef with the shop I left. There's a convenience store over there. I'd walk over there, and I was always hesitant to walk too close to the shop. They kind of hated me, and I just kept quiet, but I get it. But then I was really, really wanting to be this amazing artist, and I just wasn't yet. I was good, but I wasn't amazing at all. And I'm trying to think of what triggered me going in this, I remember moving to, okay, I remember now. So, I remember perfectly clear. St. Mark has a brother named Monty. You know who St. Mark is, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was at the Nationals Tattoo Convention in Arizona. I don't know. Some people don't know who he is,
Well, I was just thinking, damn it, that was a good chance for me to talk some shit, and I
right.
let it pass.
So I'm at the Nationals competition, and at the Nationals, they do this thing that I always liked, where they would let your peers pick best tattooist of the year. And it was on how many votes the people, the general public gave you. Anybody, when you registered, you got a bunch of blank tickets to fill out, and you filled out who your favorite artist was. Now, granted, people would bring 30 friends and get 30 votes, But I remember seeing it. So it's all in a picture frame. I'd like to do this at our show, actually. Because they also did a regular one that the judges themselves voted on. So even if your buddies did get it for you, you still had this other one to win. But I remember seeing this frame, and I was just floored. I'd never seen anything like it, and I thought it was St. Mark's because it had a similar flavor. But it was just making me crazy. And so I saw Mark, and I'm like, that shit right there. And I was about to say, that's the best work you've ever done. And he cuts me off, and he goes, dude, it's my brother. It's my little brother. He's fucking killing it. He'd been tattooing like 2 years, maybe. I don't even know if it's that much. And I was just so floored that he introduced me to him. I'm really good at sparking up conversation when I want to get something done. Like I want to be able to like somehow talk with you. So I like talked him into like letting me come out and guest spot. No, I talked him into guest spotting with me, actually. I think I paid for his flight and everything. So he came out, tattooed in Arizona with me for a while, and just never seen anybody's approach. All 15 Magnum, no, like a liner was like literally like forbidden. You know what I mean? And it just looked like paintings, and it's really more than the Tom Renshaw stuff. It sparked that like this is it. But I was able to watch him. I was able to watch his movements, so I could try to mimic him later. And I became so obsessed with his work. And then keep in mind, like not many people had their stuff online, so it wasn't like I could go study it all night long. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just remembered seeing these amazing portraits. He did one on me actually for my daughter, but I remember thinking, if I really want to do it, I've got to do it. I've got to move. And I was divorced by now, and I was married to another woman. I've been married 3 times, by the way. Third one was a charm for sure. Been married over 20 years to Nikki, but I was married to somebody else, and I said, I'm moving to Indiana, and I would really like you to go with me, but I'm going regardless. And she was like, okay, I want to go with you. And she was really wealthy. She comes from this really wealthy family, and she fucking flew out there before me and bought a fucking house. Sight, and like I had never even seen it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Bought a house. Fucking bought a house in Indiana. Never even been to Indiana, And I went straight to work with Mark, and my friend Jay DeBont went straight to work with Mark as well. We all moved together, and I got to experience every day like it was the best day of my life, because I was in heaven. I was working around these people. Monty had won Tattooist of the Year, like the actual official one, that same year. St. Mark had been the only artist that won it twice. At the time, nobody was doing anything even remotely like this. But every day I was encouraged to tattoo like an artist. Every day. So it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's where I started getting known. So I remember one time, you can still see it on my Facebook, I posted it kind of recently. I did a Moses on someone's leg. Like now everybody does this Moses, and they treat it like it's who's the guy with the trident? It's real popular, like
Poseidon.
It's actually Moses, but they're using him as Poseidon on every Pinterest sleeve. Well, at the time it wasn't popular at all. But this guy named Ryan, who's an awesome tattooer, he wanted me to do this tattoo on him. And Mark was always really big at blowing out. Every tattoo was multiple sheets. It always looked like it wasn't even going to fit. So Monty was the same way. Like if he did a half sleeve, he'd come out with like 4 sheets of paper. He'd just be like, bam, you know what I mean? Everything was giant and oversized, and it looked amazing. So as a joke, Mark was at my studio to visit, because we were at different studios. I was with Monty. Mark had another studio. He had 6 studios at the time when I was there. And just the fucking heyday, right? Do you remember New Breed Tattoo, since you're in Dayton, right?
Yep.
It was New Breed, yeah. But I think little Brian called his something Truth and Triumph, though. So it was the same era. Smart Bomb?
Yeah.
Okay. But, so as a joke, I, like, blew the stencil up stupid big. Like, I mean, just ridiculous. And I go, what do you think, Mark? And he goes, I blew it up a little bigger. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I put the stencil on him, and it went from the top of his thigh past his knee. And I fucking started doing what I learned. I tattooed it. And if you go look at it, although it's not my work today, you can see that's the first time. And I won tons of awards for it. At Nationals, I won like Best Black and Gray, Best Realism, Best Large. And I've never won any real trophy before. So it was like the fucking Grammy Awards for me. It was unbelievable. It was a time I'll never forget in my life. It was really crazy, you know?
What did that... Okay, so young, fucking tattooing now, you've moved across the country, fucking to Podunk, Indiana. You're with amazing, becoming or already world-renowned artists.
Yeah, because there's another artist named Jerry Frost doing the same type of shit. Unbelievable, you know? He just stayed in Indiana. He's still in Indiana today. You know, some people are happy with that. I'm like I want to roam and fucking find stuff. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, so boom, you go and you start. You know, you're not winning like best large color. You're winning like best of show, tattoo of the day, multiple times, out of nowhere. So what? I don't know what I'm looking for. Was there any point when that happened that like you started feeling like your head getting big or your like ego?
Yes. I remember wanting to design a shirt. This is the cringiest thing I've ever fucking thought of in my life. Looking back, I can't believe I ever fucking even thought of it. In the heyday of it all, it absolutely got to me. And I remember people complaining. So somebody would be like, damn, dude, leave a trophy for the rest of us. And I remember saying, step up your game, kind of joking.
Yeah.
But after I said that, I wanted to make a shirt that said, step up. Like, that's the shit. Like, who the fuck are you to say, fuck you, step up? What a fucking bitch. Like, thank God I didn't fucking make it. But I was, that's how confident I was. Because I was just doing something that wasn't really done except by like 5 people in the world at the time. And so we were super busy, we were super booked. It was just a fucking rock star. But yeah, I think about that and I can't sleep at night. I'm like, step up. What a fucking douchebag move. You know? Fuck you. Some fucking Steely Dan shit.
You just rambling, bro. It's all right.
It's all good. It's rambling.
Oh shit. So, okay, you win this. You start feeling a little fucking headstrong.
Right.
You're in Indiana now. You're working at Monty's shop. St. Mark's got 6. So what happened to Mom's?
So Mom just kind of ran its course. The guy that Butch is his name that I taught how to tattoo that had the money. His heart wasn't in tattooing.
Yeah.
So like he just kind of stopped one day, and I was like, this seems like a good time to next move. What's next? You know. But Mark really liked it when Mark had a lot of shops. So when people got really good, he liked to partner with them, so he had more shops. And so I said, hey, I'd love to have a shop. Would you want to partner with me? And he's like, fuck yeah, Bloomington, Indiana. We got to get to Bloomington. And he had a shop in Bloomington years ago, and he always really loved it there. And he's like, Bloomington, you got money? And I'm like, I got enough. I had this rich wife at the time. And we go look at Bloomington, and it was the craziest thing. We wanted to walk in all the tattoo shops and introduce ourselves and just be honest. Hey, we want to open a shop. We hope we can be friendly. This is what we're not about being dicks or anything, right? Well, it was Danny Fowler's shop, the guy that he used to make tattoo machines back in the day, like a long time ago. He was a big tattoo machine builder. But the people there were just kind of quiet and low-key. They were nice. And then not an hour after we left, somebody from that shop called us. And they're like, hey man, why don't you just buy this shop? All we ask, you just take over the rent and let us stay. We want to work with you. And I'm like, well, St. Mark's not coming. It'll just be me. And he's like, that's fine. We love your work. Let us stay on. It's worth learning. You just take over the rent and the shop can be yours. And I was like, holy fuck. This is insane. We were like looking at 20 grand minimum to just get started, right? And so we did it. We took it over. But little known to me was some history. St. Mark used to have a partner years ago before me. They had a bad falling out. He had a shop a block up the fucking road. So here I am again without even realizing that I've done this. So they fucking hate me. They hate Mark. They take it out on me because I'm there. Smashed our windows all the time, like fucking monthly. Told customers like, hey, you just got AIDS. You know what I mean? Like physical fights. Like I remember we hired this tattoo artist who was a fucking boxer, like a real fucking Golden Gloves boxer. Real fucking wild card. Great guy though. If you're listening, Chris, I remember you. And he wanted to fight this guy so bad because he'd come by the shop and like flip us off, and like when our window had already been broken, so we had this giant particle like the piece of wood up, right? And he came by, flipped us off, and then flicked a cigarette, and it landed in between the windowsill and the wood. Like it could have caught the shop on fire. So I was like, because Chris is like, please let me go out there. And I'm like, you know what, Chris? Fucking go get him. Go for it. And Chris went out there and fucking lit this guy up. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. He hit the guy like 3 or 4 times before he hit the ground. Like, as he was falling, it was embarrassing. I had to go out there with a baseball bat just to fucking break it up. And he's like, and fuck you too, Josh. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? And it was weird because the guy walked, after the bloody nose and everything, I broke him up. He walked around the shop. He walked back by and he goes, can I talk to you? Outside. And he's like, I'm not going to jump you or nothing. And I'm like, okay. He's like, man, I just had a reflection of my life. He's like, I'm 36 years old. And I just fucking got my ass beat in front of your tattoo shop for talking shit. He's like, I'm over it. I'm done. I've been talking about moving anyway. This was the catalyst. I want to shake your hand and tell you I'm sorry. I will never, ever disrespect you or your shop again. It's over. And the guy ended up moving on with his life. And the other guy that was kind of a dick there later, as well, he became a client of mine and became friends. Like we worked it out. You know what I mean? But for like years, like a couple of years, it was fucking crazy. Just chaos. Like, the windows are huge. So they're thousands of dollars. And Mark had this positive energy where I'd be like, hey, Mark, yeah, he smashed the windows again. And he'd be like, fuck yeah, that means they notice us. We're winning. And I'm like, fuck, yeah, but I got a broken window. You know what I mean? So, interesting. But
Dude,
Mark was like that. You've seen Mark many times, so you can picture him doing that, right?
Yeah,
Anything.
we'd be talking about like the cancel culture and shit, and he's like, well, fuck yeah, if you get canceled, hell yeah, fucking, I love the haters. And I'm just like, that's fucking awesome. You're talking about Ink Master, like being the bad guy. He's like, cool, fuck yeah.
I know. He loved it. He loves it. You know what I mean? So that put me in a spot where it was just kind of the same thing. Eventually, it was just kind of time to go. You know what I mean? I guess I do that a lot, I'm a bit of a wanderer, you know what I mean? A bit of a nomad. So I just like to, what's over there? What's over here? So without going on for too long, I met my wife in Monty's shop, actually. And I always talked about
Nikki, correct?
Nikki, yes. I always talked about Oregon and Corvallis and how much I loved Oregon. And even though I was in a successful band and the shop was doing well, she was like, one day she just woke me up and she was like, we're going to move there eventually. Like, you talk about it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be there someday. She's like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? Because I've always talked to her about being kind of wild. Like, I want to be with somebody that's like going to jump on the train with you, which is pretty stupid. But I want to live that life and carry those memories with me. So we gave up everything. I owned a beautiful home. It was an old cemetery. Not an old cemetery, an old funeral home. It had an elevator in it. It was amazing. I fucking walked away from a shop, a band, incredible home, everything. Packed up in a tiny U-Haul, the smallest one they make. Got rid of everything and just started a new life over here. All to do this podcast. And you pretty much know my story from here. And I feel it's time again, I would love to be back in Indiana or maybe Ohio. It's just a matter of really timing because my dad moved us around so much that I don't really want to do that to my kids, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out when the best timing is. I think eventually what I'll do is start coming out and guest spotting a lot, like once every couple months. And just that way I'll build up a clientele. So when I do move, everything's set up.
Clientele. You got motherfuckers in Oregon that'll come to you.
Step up, man. Step up.
Right. I didn't get no trophies because Carlton was there, but I got this stupid T-shirt.
Exactly. So that pretty much roughly rounds up. We did get a message, which was awesome. I was listening to all the voice messages, and one of them was super cool. I'll have to play it at some point. And the guy was like, man, I was listening to your story. He's like, we need a fucking movie. We need a movie. I'm all, hell yeah, we do.
Or a book.
Right? Yeah, a book, yeah. Or a T-shirt.
Oh, that's so fucking good, man. That's great. So that time and all that, and to our listeners, like if you stay current with us, or if you just heard of us and you go back to one and listen, like sporadically through, you hear things. Even to one of Josh's good friends and our good friend and his apprentice, Sean King. They talked a little bit about the history of being in Indiana and you were a machine builder, and he learned how to build
there's
machines.
so much more, but it would take just an eternity. It'd take a lifetime to tell a lifetime, so.
Yeah. Well, man, dude, it's fucking awesome to like know that, and as you're talking about like the nationals and stuff, like these are things that like I just hear about that I don't remember, or if I was alive at the time, I just wasn't in the right circles to even care or know about it. And that
it was a different time. It was magical for sure.
Man, and you know what kept popping into my head when you were talking about like seeing Monty's work there, he got Artist of the Year, was that picture of you that you sent us on the podcast thread when you won nationals.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like I thought I was making a joke, and I'm like, why you all dressed up like a nerd with a little sweater? And you're like, oh, it was like a formal event, like they wanted you to do that. And I was like,
yeah, It was weird because even though it was a convention, it was only 1.5 days of tattooing. So it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but all of Friday and half of Saturday was devoted to contests.
Wow.
And like this giant dinner. So you only tattooed Saturday night and Sunday evening. So they weren't really in it for the money at all. You know what I mean? It was a real, like, they raised money and like someone's shop burned down. They fucking got them out. It was kind of amazing. It was ran by people that had been tattooing for a long time and really truly loved and respected tattooing. I remember they had the 20-year, every year people would go up and they would say how long they'd been tattooing, you know what I mean? And so the 20-year mark was always a big applause. And I remember thinking, can you imagine 20 years? I couldn't imagine 20 years, and here I am at 33. It's unbelievable. And the cool thing about Nationals is it was different every year. Like the Super Bowl, it was at a different location every single year. Basically, it was hosted so like if they wanted to maybe come to you and you were in talks, Aisle 9 would host them. You know what I mean? So
wow,
I like
wonder
that.
why there's no conventions like that anymore. At least one.
I know. Because I don't think it goes on anymore. I might be wrong, and I'm just not looking at the right advertisements, but I don't think it goes on anymore. But it was very magical. It was very, very... It's the old school tattooing, you know what I mean? Like, superstars came out of there. Superstars were born from there. It's amazing. I'm so lucky that I was a part of it. So I always talk about turning something into a job. If there was ever a documentary, it's that. That'd be amazing. Catch some of these people while they're still alive. A lot of interviews. It'd be cool. Don't steal that idea either.
Copyright.
Right. Well,
Man.
as usual, I hate to do this, but I'm definitely feeling it. I'm probably going to get some food here. But it was awesome talking with you, man. I haven't seen you for a while, and I was super hoping that Matt's enjoying his vacation. Doesn't he say he goes on 2? And he goes on 1?
Yeah, so he's with his father right now and their family, and then he goes, when he gets back here, he goes up to Michigan on a lake with his mom's family and mom. But he's got an extra one coming in, which he's considering his real vacay because his oldest daughter, Phoebe, I believe she's 10 or 11, is going to the Dominican Republic, and he's not comfortable with her going.
Right.
So he's just going to go rent a fucking whatever he rents, like down the street or a block.
Is he
away.
like not going to tell her? He's just going to be there.
like the Taken, like Liam Neeson or something.
Yeah. My family.
But no, she knows. He just wants to be there in case anything happens or she needs him for anything. And he said
cool.
that's going to be his real vacay. So
Nice. Well, Matt, I hope you have a great time by the time you see this. And I hope that you are okay with this episode.
yeah. And listeners, if you love tattooing like I do, then I know you're mesmerized as I am listening to the history of this. And I just appreciate you sharing your story, Josh.
Thanks, man.
And getting us caught up to speed and letting us take a peek into the life of the great Joshua Carlton.
Step up. In telling this, it really does make me realize how lucky I am that I was a part of something so much bigger than it really is today. You know what I mean? And it's pretty cool. Like, I think I might have taken it for granted a little bit. It's just my history, right? But looking back and telling it, it's like, man, I did go to nationals every year, and I did have this. And I did meet those people, and I did get to do this. And it's like, we need to bring some of that back. So maybe Evergreen's next adventure should be something closer to that. I would love to see if I could get permission to maybe do a version of it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I respect, we're not going to take the name, but we'd like to do a version of the Nationals and kind of pay some homage to you. And yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Awesome. All right, man, I appreciate you staying up late for me.
Yeah, dude.
To all our listeners out there, like I said, please leave voice messages. You've been doing great. Please keep listening. We love you guys. We love hearing the messages. We love seeing the comments. You keep listening, we'll keep making them. Love you guys.